The 408B2 fee disclosure report in the fi360 Toolkit assists covered service providers with their fee disclosure requirements as part of the new 408B2 fee disclosure provision in ERISA. The report breaks down both the fees and the services provided by the covered service providers and helps to assist in the entire fee disclosure process. If we scroll to the first section of the report, it actually breaks down the provider of the 408B2 report and defines their the roles and responsibilities along with the services that they provide. They're defined in this report as having a direct agreement with the plan and the covered service provider nature of their arrangement with the plan as well. In our example here, we actually have two covered service providers that have direct agreements with the plan. In this example, we're reporting as MDC advisors, but we receive compensation from Top Notch TPA, which also has a direct agreement with the plan. So you may see additional covered service providers on this report depending on their responsibilities and agreements with the plan, and then also the fees and expenses that you receive as a covered service provider from the other providers as well. A third example is Silverbank down at the bottom. They have an agreement with MDC advisors and they receive fees through different reporting sources, but since they are party to MDC advisors, they are also reported on this document. If we look at the second section, it describes the compensation received by each of the parties, and it is grouped basically by who is paying the fee. So in this first example here, we have direct compensation from the company assets. And we see that there are two parties listed in here. One is Top Notch TPA, and they're receiving compensation for the services they provide. They have an admin fee, a bundled record keeping and reporting fee, and then a trustee reconciliation fee. So the fees that they're receiving, that is Top Notch TPA, and then the services that they're providing for those fees. MDC Advisors is also receiving a fee from the company, and it is for QDIA selection, and that is being reported here on this page. So bundled and subtotaled, the total amount of fees being paid out by the company is listed down in the lower right hand corner, $6,170 in this example. Another fee being paid by the plan participants is going to MDC advisors, so that is subtotaled based on the payer of the plan participants. And then indirect compensation. In this example, we have indirect compensation being paid from Top Notch TPA and then going through the TPA, and then some of that is being kept and then some of that is being deposited to the ERISA budget account. Our last example again is indirect compensation being paid from the TPA to Silverbank, the custodian for services that they provide. To summarize all that information, we break out the information by the entity receiving the compensation and then the entity paying the compensation. So in this example, we have several entities receiving: the custodian, the record keeper, the RIA, and the TPA, and then the total amount that is being paid out, and then who is actually paying the compensation: the plan participants, the company or the plan sponsor, the ERISA budget account if it's paying out expenses, and then the Top Notch TPA, they're actually paying out fees because they're rev sharing some of that to another provider for services being paid. In this appendix here, we have the description of the services and who is providing the different services. All this is coming from the settings area, defining the services and the service provider types. And then the operational fee summary, defining any of those revenue sharing components that are coming through, who is receiving and who is paying those different fees, and then what are they doing with those fees. So in this example, the fund manager is receiving fees and they're keeping those fees for services rendered in terms of the portfolio management that they provide. The record keeper is receiving fees and they're depositing that into the ERISA budget account. And then the TPA is receiving some fees and they're keeping those for the services that they're rendering. The last section, shareholder fee detail, just describes any of the transactional fees that are being received or paid, and then who is receiving and what are they doing with those fees as well. And that wraps up the 408B2 disclosure in the fi360 toolkit.